Hello, welcome to a spoonful of yesterday. Today we are making sourdough bread. Here's my starter. See how it's all bubbly like that? That's what you want whenever you're wanting to make something with sourdough. Anyways, I had my starter already made, so all I needed to do was put in a third of a cup here, and then I add some water, which is 1.5 cups of water. So it's a third cup of the sourdough starter with the 1.5 cups of warm water, not hot, not cold. Then I put my 1 cup of flour in right here. I get that all mixed up before I put my salt, sugar, or honey, whatever you want to use. I used honey here, and olive oil. So I always want the sourdough starter to attach itself to the flour before I start adding my salt, honey, or sugar, and the olive oil. But anyway, so you just mix all that up, and then just slowly you put in your flour. I do 1 cup at a time because sometimes I need 3.5 cups of flour, and sometimes I need 4 cups of flour. So it kind of depends on what type of flour. And this is a very cheap flour. I got this at Christmas time. They were out of every flour except the generic kind. So I really wasn't sure if this was even going to work out. But you know what? Any type of bread works out. It might not be the best, but it's bread, believe me. Anyway, so you get that all mixed up here together. And you want to just mix it just slightly. You don't have to over mix it or anything like that. So once you get it all mixed together, then you want this to sit for 30 minutes. So you can stretch this dough 3 times every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes, which would be 3 times. You can do it. I do it 2 if I'm in a hurry. Sometimes I do it up to 4 if I'm not in a hurry. But you don't want your dough to be like a regular bread dough. You kind of want it sticky and jello-y, shake it in the bowl kind of like. I had to actually put another 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of flour in here, and I know it's because it was the cheap essential flour. But anyway, so after that's done, you just put it in a warm place. So I wanted to feed my starter and get it back into the jar. I had to wash my jar. I wash my jar like once a month. I refrigerate my sourdough also, starter. I refrigerate that and just pull it out the day before I'm ready to make a sourdough recipe. My sourdough actually is almost 2 years old. So that's sat on the counter for a while. So that's why it was all bubbly. I got it in my nice little jar. I fed it again before I put it away. So that's what you want to do. When you see it start bubbling, sometimes you can feed it up to 2 or 3 times a day when you see those nice bubbles. So that is put away now until the next time I make something. And we have our first stretch right here. So you want to just uncover your bowl, wet your hands, take your hands and wet them, and then that's how the dough doesn't really stick to your fingers. But you see how moist and jello-y soft this dough is. That's why it does stick to your fingers, but if you wet them, it doesn't stick near as much. So that is our first stretch. I think I only do 2 stretches during this video. But the more you stretch it, the better your dough becomes firmer and more elastic as it's supposed to. So you just cover this back up, set it again for 30 minutes, set it in a nice warm place, and do your stretch again. And I call this a no fuss because it really is simple. There's just a lot of steps to it. So don't ever be afraid to make the sourdough bread because it's so simple. It's just the steps. And you know what? I bet you any money this bread would turn out well, even if you didn't stretch it. Anyways, then there is my little heating pad I have because my kitchen's kind of cold. So I put that on for the rest of the 6 to 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours. But that little heating pad made by Riser really helps the dough, looks like raisin. Anyways, it really helps the dough get to where it needs to be to start forming it into the ball. So that's what I'm doing here. Load up your counter with some good flour there and just keep tucking it under until you get that elastic ball. You want it nice and firm, and that's why I don't overload it with flour whenever I'm first making it, because you don't want to do that. You want to do it at the end This is how you can tell how your bread's going to turn out, because you're slowly adding flour until you form it into a ball. So this is the best way that I found to do your bread, so you can get the nice texture at the end. Anyways, then you just take your parchment paper, spray it with the vegetable shortening or vegetable oil, put your bowl in there and dough ball in there and get it all tucked in there nice with the flour. Keep it heavy on the flour. That's what you want to do. And then you want to let this sit for 30 minutes and let it rise a little bit, 45 minutes, and then put it in your refrigerator for another 3-4 hours. And you don't really have to, as some people do, and then they can get that nice cut down the middle. I don't do stuff like that. But anyways, so I actually let it sit out overnight so it re-proofed. So that's why it looks the way it does. But I'll tell you what, it turned out absolutely sensational. Cheap flour and an accidental overnight re-rise on it, but it still turned out really delicious. I mean, the flavor was there, the crispness was there, everything. So you see here, I heated up the skillet, put the spray on the skillet. I put the bread dough in there for 30 minutes. That's all you need. Then you take it out and you get it right off out of the skillet. You don't want it to burn. You don't want it to overcook. Get that paper off it, and then I always let it cool on its side. You can even flip it over, cool it on your front, but I like to cool it on the side. So it cools on the side there, maybe just 15 minutes, and then look, do you hear that crisp on here? This bread turned out so good. Like I said, overproofed and cheap flour, it turned out sensational. So that's what I'm saying. It's so easy to make. This is a no-fuss sourdough bread. Delicious. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe and give me a like. We got to make some more of these. Thank you.